we'll open it up. Maybe there's a topic we have not covered and we kind of wish we did, or maybe there's other questions out there that people have that, we didn't cover. So we'll kind of have this sort of an open part of the discussion. If anyone has any questions or any feedback, comments, just sort of on any part of this discussion.
Yeah, I'm kind of the resident Luddite here, but I'm glad to meet everybody and be part of it. Our firm is not, how do I put this eloquently, not exactly coming up the curve technology wise, and so, but I'm doing my best to kind of learn what I can learn. And I was on the phone yesterday with somebody down in Ecuador, and he was telling me that he was kind of a AI denialist, which I'll admit I probably was in the beginning, but he took some tutorial. I guess Claude puts out a tutorial that's like 8 hours total in segments, but he forgot to tell me, and then I forgot to write him back to get the link. Does this sound familiar to anybody? And if so, could you share the link?
I have not heard of that type of
Okay.
tutorial, but if anyone has, yeah, feel free to share that in the chat
You
or.
can you can Google rogo.ai.com, and I think the tutorial there is a link there to it. I haven't used it for quite a while, but that may be one way to get there.
Okay. Okay, great.
And
Clay, you can
there's a
just
lot of stuff on the website, both in terms of write-ups and videos and stuff. I don't think I've seen the 8 hour session thing, but
Yeah, Clay, you can just create a free Claude account
Okay.
and then they'll have the tutorials built into them, just like Gemini and Grok and everything else, which I recommend doing, even though they're specific to their services. And then you go to Google and you can just get general AI classes, and you could do all of this for free. And like I said, every time you feel like you're getting a little better, you realize you're still in kindergarten. So good luck with it.
I don't think I ever got out of kindergarten in life, but no, that's great. And then the other question I had, because my brother-in-law is a fireman and he created a business using Claude, an app, because he's also a fire investigator on the side. And I was talking to him at the family's pool a couple weeks ago, and I said, this is awesome, but like, who owns this, right? And so, is FINRA opine or the SEC opining at all on kind of any kind of standard for using AI? That's who owns it is a whole nother conversation, but you know, it's so amazing to me. But at the end of the day, where do the IP rights go, right? And this is sort of a question that I didn't quite say correctly, but is anybody seeing any guidance, from FINRA or from SEC?
From FINRA on our end, it's from compliance, third-party
Okay.
compliance, the securities groups that I think we talked about it earlier. Up to debate. Some are more conservative than others. Depends
Yeah.
how much of a lawyer you want you want to be.
It's funny because the last ghost hunt that FINRA was on with our firm was texting.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking with all this open architecture, where are we now, right?
Clay, I don't know if this is relevant at all, but and it's not FINRA, but I have a friend in town who's a federal judge, and he had an attorney present a brief to him that referenced previous case law, but the quotes were totally fake, and he ended up. I mean, the guy's about to get disbarred, but it got written up in the Wall Street Journal. Basically, his position, this judge's position, was that like you're totally at your discretion to use AI to the max extent possible, but you're also responsible for the fidelity of the information that you put across.
Okay.
Interesting, very interesting.
Wild West.
Finn, don't mean to put you on the spot too much here, but I think you might be the associate, one of the only associates in the room. Just kind of from your perspective, I think you're at an investment bank in Southern California. From your perspective, what any thoughts, or how are you using AI, or kind of what's your take on this?
It's very interesting because I know when I started in investment banking, the AI tools were not nearly advanced enough to actually be helpful. And very quickly, we've seen tools advance to the stage where it makes it more difficult to learn. New analysts that we're bringing on can become very good at using AI tools, but actually teaching them some of the financial concepts is more difficult when you always have this kind of crutch. So it's like building out a target list. I think it's so important to learn doing by hand. Same thing with modeling, same thing with building a deck. Um, so I think that's a very important dynamic in
So
getting
are
that
you
next
in,
generation caught up.
so not learning, I mean, not sort of, so even the younger kind of group should be careful to not, should continue to develop kind of the traditional skills and not let kind of new technology just completely take that over.
I'd say the problem is people can tell what good AI output is. And so if I give my new analyst uh, a task and say, hey, build this target list, and they can put it through AI and they can stress test it with AI and they can say, okay, like I know that this is the best result that AI can put out. They don't have the background of knowing, oh, here's what the objective is. And it's the same thing. I think the biggest issue I run into using AI or watching other people use AI is like financial modeling, where like if you ask an AI tool, and I mean, we've spent the past like 16 months kind of demoing everything out there. Right now, I'll say I think the two best tools for modeling are Claude and Rogo, just generally. And I think that the key to that is the integration features. We use like Granola for note taking. We use like Gmail for our inbox and outbox. When you sync these up, you can build out a model. I had something about a month ago where I like built my model. I was about to send it off as a final version. And I asked Claude and Rogo both. I was like, hey, just audit this. Like, no further instructions. Didn't try to get too fancy with it. And Claude flagged something. It said, hey, we have a transcript from your granola note taker from like 2 months ago. You were on the phone with the CEO, and he mentioned that they were anticipating a bump in rent in August of next year. That's not in the model. And it's like you can use these AI tools as basically just like an analyst with like perfect photographic memory that's like lives in the data room and knows exactly everything you should be remembering. That it can just flag more quickly. But my original point is that the modeling is very difficult because if you ask an AI tool, hey, give me a model, they'll give you something. And everything will look like it's tying out, but there's some tasks that I think genuinely, I think Michael was saying this earlier, are important enough that it needs the human touch.
Right.
Modeling is one. I think like building the outline of a deck is another. You can use AI to maybe fill out the details, but like the real value lifts. It's like you can always get an output. The question is like what outputs are actually worth asking of AI.
And that's an excellent point. And that's, that is a bigger, that is a question here for, I guess, for each of us is what is the right balance between, the human in the loop and using the technology? Like, to what extent do you use it? Now, obviously, Michael just gave us a strong example of, quotes that were completely made up, and now this, lawyer is potentially being disbarred because of that. And so, and Frank, I think you have mentioned to me, you've, at least recently, you've kind of leaned into, rather than having AI create a first draft and then you review it, you created a first draft of, I don't know if it was a proposal or an LOI, and then had AI kind of review that, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it's a great copy editor. And that's certainly one of the use cases. And in some cases, rather than circulating things around the firm for just comments, do we say this in a way that someone's going to understand it, to get it, to get thorough copy editing? That's no more expertise from AI than grammar and writing style. But that's definitely one of the productivity improvements.
Yeah, and I think, that also just speaks to this whole point about there is a balance that each of us needs to find, depending on, I guess, our own judgment and circumstances. Well, I think just sort of wrapping up here. I think we'll take one more question, one more comment, and then we'll start to close out. Is there anything else that someone wanted to ask or to share before we started closing out?
This is Richard. I'd be interested in how people are using AI to find investors for sell side situations.
I use the kind of the old ways. If you're looking at like Zoom info, it says enter a sample company. Same concept using Claude again in this way. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for private equity groups in the lower middle market that have had an investment in automotive within this kind of EBITDA range or volume range. And then it spits out a list, and then from there, just continue to refine it. That's been my best way. Obviously, if you're looking for strategics, it's a little bit different. Just look through a habit search, do the research function. The way Michael had mentioned, there's a lot you can do when you tab research and find all the consolidators, all the press releases of anybody in that industry that has done some type of acquisition or capital raise or anything that's in there, and build a list that way. That's been my experience.
Georgia, do you use the PitchBook plugin to Claude at all?
No, we have not. We've not here at my firm. PitchBook, good and bad.
Right.
So just kind of using that. A lot of other times we just have Google alerts for some of the things that are going on in the specific industry. We're not generalists, so it's pretty easy to refine it. But that's another way to just kind of feed all that into your Claude and keep refining that list. And so recurring tasks, have it scrape everything every week, right? So the Claude can do that. So every time there's a new announcement, anything, have it do a search, update your file. It's in Cowork, so it updates the file automatically. It's really plug and play at that point.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
What do you find the difference is mostly between the enterprise Claude and the $20 a month Claude? Is it?
Well, go ahead. I see Michael.
Dramatic.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, I think we are running out of time. I'm extremely grateful for each of your attendance and for each of your contribution.